we've established that a barter economy with production is efficient. Now let's look at a market economy, one with prices in. The condition for consumption efficiency is that the ratio of marginal utilities, X to Y for consumer A, equals the price ratio for good X to good Y for consumer A. If this condition were not met, then consumer A can rearrange what she's consuming and have a net gain. For instance, if the utility ratio is 1 to 5 and the price ratio is 5 to 1, then what she can do is sell one of her X's, and she wins £5. And with those £5 she can buy 5 Y's. Of course, he gives up one X and that costs her 1, but she gains 5 Y's and that gains her 25, so her net gain is 24. So this is a good deal, and consumer A would rearrange her consumption bundle. Ditto for consumer B, has to face the same condition, that the marginal the ratio of marginal utilities should equal the marginal or should equal the price ratio, and if both consumers face the same prices, that PXA over PYA equals PXB over PYB, that is, they face the same prices, then the market establishes consumption efficiency. Similar reasoning for production efficiency. The marginal production of labor and capital for making X should equal the marginal prices, input prices of labor and capital for making X, and ditto for making Y. And if this condition is violated, then they can just make more of everything. The market also establishes product mix efficiency. The price of good X should equal the marginal cost of making X. Marginal cost of making X equals the price of putting in more capital to make X, and that of course should be normalized with how much more X you get if you put in more capital. And that of course by production efficiency is equal to the same thing for labor. Now that holds for X, same reasoning applies to Y, and if you then divide this X over this, or this price of X over this price of Y, you get this one, and then you also have consumption efficiency here. Px over Py is Pxk over Pyk, and then the inverse of the marginal production ratio. So Y ends up at the top and X ends up at the bottom. So the market also establishes efficiency of product mix, provided that this condition holds, right? That producers supply at the marginal cost. So the market establishes product mix efficiency as well as consumption efficiency as well as production efficiency. So the market is efficient. Now we made a whole bunch of implicit and explicit assumptions here. One assumption that was implicit is that these markets actually exist. What we want is that price ratios equate for consumers and producers. That of course implies that a market must exist. If there's no market, there is no price. And that means in turn that property rights are fully assigned, that all goods and services are private, and that no externalities exist. Another assumption that we need to make is that markets are perfectly competitive, that prices equal marginal costs. And of course we need to assume that it's not just that consumers respond to prices, but they actually have to know all these prices, and the same is true for producers, and not just of the things that they buy, and not just of the things that they use, and not just of the things that they sell, but also of the things that they could have bought, and the things they could have used as input, and the products they could have made, right? And that is where the perfect information comes in. These are pretty tall assumptions. In any case, if we're looking at natural resources and the environment, they are just violated. Many natural resources are simply not bought and sold on markets because the markets are not there. That's true for clean air, that's true for wilderness. Many resources are public goods. Climate is one, or open access resources. Ocean fisheries is prime examples there. And many resource markets are imperfect. That is a concentration of powerful buyers and sellers, and that is true for the energy markets, where for a very long time OPEC had a strong grip on the market. It's true for markets in minerals, where you frequently have only 3 or 4 suppliers of a particular metal, and it's true for land markets, which are very sluggish and very thin often. And then there's other environmental issues where there's a simple externality, smoke blowing over, chemicals dumped in a river. These are pure externalities, and that means that if we're interested in resources, natural resources, and the environment, we simply cannot assume that markets work, that markets are perfect, and therefore they do not establish even a Pareto optimum, let alone a real optimum.